there's been this issue between Nigeria and France. Since the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, there's been this relationship between the Nigerian president and France. There has been this relationship, which is something that is a little bit, I would say, is not that very clear. But there are some key things to note. First of all, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a close business associate, who is called Gilbert Chagoury. Gilbert Chagoury is a Lebanese-Nigerian billionaire who lives in France and is described as President Tinubu's closest and most prominent business associate living in France. If you search, Google search, Gilbert Chagoury, he lives in France, a Lebanese-Nigerian billionaire. Now, he said Gilbert Chagoury has a decades-long personal and business relationship with President Tinubu, which reportedly began when Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State. Chagoury is the owner of the Chagoury Group, which includes High-Tech Construction Company Limited and ITB, prominent construction and real estate firms in Nigeria. These companies have been awarded significant contracts under the current administration, notably the controversial Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project, which critics argue was a no-bid contract influenced by their close ties. Chagoury lives primarily in Paris and is considered the point man for certain French business interests, such as Total Energies in Nigeria. He has played a role in high-level business discussions between Nigeria and France, including attending state visits and the France-Nigeria Business Council meetings. Leaked documents have suggested that President Tinubu's son, Seyi Tinubu, co-owns an offshore company with Ronald Chagoury Jr., Gilbert Chagoury's son, further intertwining the family business interest. So, President Tinubu said from when he was governor of Lagos State, has close ties with Gilbert Chagoury, who is a Lebanese-Nigerian billionaire. And this Chagoury lives in Paris, lives in France. There are a number of occasions that President Tinubu has gone to France. He says he's on working leave, private visit and all that. President Tinubu has gone to France a couple of times since he has become president. And this close business associate lives in France. And Chagoury has a construction firm in Nigeria. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, controversial project that said no official bid was made for it. At a point, they said no budget allocation for it. But then the contract was awarded to the company of Gilbert Chagoury, who is a close business associate of President Tinubu, which that in itself could be interpreted as conflict of interest, where you award contract to somebody who is a close business tie with no bidding. There was no open bidding process. There was no budgetary allocation as was been alleged, where this coastal road that amounts to trillions of naira contract, coastal road was awarded to the Chagoury. And we're saying that it's been reported, allegedly, that even the son has a company, he co-owns a company with Gilbert Chagoury's son, Ronald Shaguri, So we have that relationship of Tinubu and this Shaguri. That's one thing. Another thing is that when President Tinubu came into power, few months later, we have the coup that happened in Niger Republic to our northern border. Niger Republic is a former colony of France. So it's a French-speaking country. And France had military base in Niger Republic, as well as US. France had business interests in Niger Republic. So when that military coup happened, and you have overthrow of the democratic elected government, France put a lot of pressure on Nigeria to help to go and displace the coup plotters, the coup people in Niger Republic. And President Tinubu was eager to do that. At that time, he was the president of ECOWAS heads of states, So President Tinubu was on the verge of sending Nigerian troops to Niger to displace the coup. The reason why it did not happen, many of the northern leaders, because Nigeria shares a very large and long border with Niger Republic. So many northern leaders have ties across the border with people in Niger. And so there was this fear that if Nigeria invades Niger, it could damage that relationship that Nigeria has long had with Niger. So leaders from the north, the senators in the in the Senate, House of Representative members from the north, they all came together and said no, because President Tinubu needed to get the permission of the Senate before it can send Nigerian troops to Niger. So the Senate said no, Tinubu should not send Nigerian troops to Niger. At that time, we have Emir Sanusi of Kano traveled to Niger to discuss with the military junta, then came back and discussed with President Tinubu. So after all of that, President Tinubu now backed down. He did not send troops to Niger. At that time, there were reports that even France was already eager. France was already getting equipment and all that. France wanted Nigeria to take the lead, but France wanted to support Nigeria so that they would enter Niger Republic and remove the military junta. So because the military junta was a threat to France. Because as the military junta came into power, they gave France ultimatum to leave Niger Republic. They drove out France, they drove out US and all that. All Western powers that had bases in Niger, they were asked to go. Rather, the military junta in Niger Republic aligned with Vladimir Putin of Russia. So you now have Russian guys, Russian military guys, Russian contractors and all that, now taking over in Niger Republic. So you had that one that happened. Now, the recent coup that took place recently in Benin Republic, which is to our western border. Benin Republic is also a French colony. It was France that colonized Benin. And that is why Benin is also a French-speaking country, just like Niger Republic. So when this Benin coup happened now, there was now more urgency. They didn't want what happened in Niger to happen, right? So it said that France was interested in stopping the coup in Benin. The president of Benin Republic, Talon, wanted Nigeria to help stop the coup plotters, So, based on all that, Nigeria sent airplanes, fighter jets to Niger, sent soldiers to Niger with the assistance of to Benin rather. I keep mixing them up. So, Benin Republic now, when the coup happened, right, Nigeria sent airplanes to Benin Republic, sent ground troops to Benin Republic. It said that this was even done before the president got the approval of the Senate. because the coup happened on a weekend, I think on a Sunday. It was not until Monday, Tuesday before the presidency wrote to the Senate to get the permission of the Senate to send more troops to Benin Republic. So this thing that happened in Benin Republic, France was interested because Benin Republic was a former France colony. And the involvement of Nigeria in Benin, France also has a hand in it. So you have that. Then recently we saw that Macron, I think it was even before the Benin coup, with this issue of insecurity in Nigeria and all that, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, wrote on his speech that he spoke with President Tinubu. The US, President Trump has been saying they will invade Nigeria. So we have this situation where Macron said he spoke with President Tinubu and that France was willing to work with Nigeria in addressing the insecurity challenges, especially in the north. So you have that one. Now, what is now blowing up now is another issue. This one now has to do with the issue of tax. Because we know that Nigeria will soon implement the new tax law. The implementation will start January 1st, 2026. So, recently, December 10th, it is said that the FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service of Nigeria, which is the body responsible for collection of tax, entered an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with a French agency, and that has raised up a lot of controversy. So, I'll read what the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, reported today, December 15th, with the headline, Experts Differ as FIRS claims MOU with France won't compromise taxpayers' data. This is by Harrison Ede. He said the Federal Inland Revenue Service has said the Memorandum of Understanding MOU it signed with France Direction Générale des Finances Publiques DGFIP will not grant the European Union access to Nigerian taxpayers' data or systems. The DGFIP, the Directorate General of Public Finances, is an agency of the French government that plays a key role in public finance management, including taxes. On December 10, the services signed an MOU with the DGFIP on the promotion of efficient tax administration. The MOU has raised a lot of questions from economic and security stakeholders over a possible data privacy breach. However, in a statement on Sunday, December 14, the FIRS clarified misconceptions about the development. The FIRS said, MOU is a standard globally recognized cooperation framework focused solely on technical assistance and capacity building. It explained that it did not grant France access to Nigeria's taxpayers' data, digital systems, or any element of the country's operational infrastructure. All existing Nigerian laws on data protection, cyber security, and sovereignty remain fully applicable and strictly enforced. The Nigerian Revenue Service, NRS, like its predecessor FIRS, places the highest premium on national security and maintains rigorous standards for the protection of all taxpayers' information, is stated. The FIRS said the MOU was to leverage France's experience in digital transformation, taxpayer services, governance, and public finance. The statement went on to say it is advisory, non-intrusive, and entirely under Nigeria's control. Contrary to misconceptions, the MOU does not displace local technology providers. FIRS and the emerging Nigerian Revenue Service NRS continue to work closely with Nigerian innovators such as NIBSS, InterSwitch, Paystack, and Floater Wave. According to the FRS, the MoU strengthens Nigeria's sovereignty to build a modern, capable, globally competitive tax administration, one firmly in command of its systems, data, and strategic direction. So, an expert said, this is from an expert, Segun Adebayo, who is the Executive Director of Center for African Policy Research and Advisory, CAFPRA. While expressing concerns over data privacy breach, Segun Adebayo said the full execution of Nigeria tax reform must remain 100% in Nigerians' hands, noting that it's a sovereignty security risk if a foreign entity has access to Nigerians' tax data, financial transactions, or national digital records. He expressed fears over espionage, surveillance, and massive exploitation, stating that foreign control systems open the door of espionage, digital colonization, and economic sabotage. He further stressed that the MoU could give real-time visibility into which sectors thrive, which could give France leverage in every future trade, investment, and loan negotiations. No serious country hands its tax backbone to a foreign power, he added. In a similar vein, the spokesperson of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Bolaji Abdullahi, said on Sunday, December 14th, on his official X account that the MoU endangered Nigeria's data security and exposed the strategic national economic information for foreign exploitation. Tax matters are about business, not charity. In entering into this business agreement, the FRS has told us what Nigeria stands to benefit. However, it has failed to tell us what France stands to benefit from this deal. Why did the federal government of Nigeria enter into a serious agreement such as this, which potentially infringes on national security and sovereignty, without public disclosure of its full terms, without open engagement with the National Assembly, and without any meaningful effort to carry Nigerians along? This is according to Abdullahi. He further queried the broader implication of such a political economic alliance with France, adding that across West Africa, France's role and influences have been openly questioned. Former French colonies are loosening or severing their neo-colonial ties with the country. Yet, under the Bola Tinubu administration, Nigeria appears to have become more francophone than the French. So this is from the ICIR. There's a report from Punch. This is Punch yesterday. This is by Deborah Tolu Kolawole. Yesterday, December 14, Northern elders demand immediate termination of FIRS France tax MoU. Says that the Northern Elders Forum on Sunday called for the immediate termination of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the French Tax Authority, the DGDFP. The forum warned that the agreement poses a grave threat to Nigeria's economic sovereignty and national security. In an open letter addressed to the federal government, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, the forum described the MoU as a dangerous tax data agreement capable of exposing Nigeria's most sensitive economic information to foreign control. The letter, signed by the Northern Elders Forum spokesperson, Professor Abubakar Jederi, stated that the agreement goes beyond technical cooperation and represents what the group termed an unprotected gateway into the heart of Nigeria's tax infrastructure. The letter went on to say the Northern Elders Forum rise today with grave concern and an overwhelming sense of patriotic duty. Nigeria stands at a crossroad, one that threatens the very pillars of our economic sovereignty, national security, and collective dignity as an independent African nation. Yesterday's signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the French Tax Authority is not a harmless technical collaboration. It's a direct, unprotected gateway into the heart of Nigerian tax infrastructure, placing our most sensitive economic data into the hands of a foreign power whose engagement across Africa have historically led to economic manipulation, political pressure, and strategic domination. So, and the later also went on to make reference to other points in the argument. So we've seen that President Tinubu has a particularly close relationship with France, with Shaguri, and we've seen the relationship between them. So, especially as regards to the awarding of that coastal road, that was really a red flag, right? Because the coastal roads, it was not open for other contractors. There was no opportunity for other contractors to bid. It was just awarded to the Shaguri firm, who is a close associate of President Tinubu, and we saw the trillions of naira that will be put on that project, which should raise a lot of concern. Then with the recent coup that took place in Niger and in Benin Republic, we saw the influence of France, So all of this is playing out. President Tinubu has a peculiar relationship with France, and he has gone there several times in the course of this administration. But being that as it may, we should note that President Tinubu should consider the interests of Nigeria and should consider his legacy. He will not be president forever. It will come a time, even if he do 2 terms, his term will finish. And as such, whatever this tax regime is a new dispensation. The tax laws have not been amended for many years. And it's an achievement on his part for him to have done tax reform. Now, having done that, he should not be open to this kind of questioning. Because now entering an MOU with French authority. Why France? Why the French authority? What is peculiar about the French tax agency that they will enter an MOU with? According to what Bolaji Abdullahi, the spokesperson for the opposition coalition ADC, Nigeria has said what Nigerian FIRS has said what Nigeria will gain, but they've not told us what France will gain. And nothing goes for nothing in international diplomacy, international relations. So what exactly is France gaining from this MOU? How can the government reassure Nigerians that the data of Nigerians will not be at risk with this MOU with France? I think the federal government should show more transparency in disclosing what is going on between Nigeria and France, between the president and Shaguri, between the administration and this Shaguri's firm. I think the National Assembly has not really done its work. The National Assembly should have called to question that coastal road, the process by which it was awarded and how it was awarded. And then there's former governorship candidate in Lagos that took the matter to court, to say to question the legality of the process of that coastal road. I just hope that all the legal processes and all that will happen, and then we'll get answers to things like that. The interests of Nigeria, the interests of Nigeria's future and prosperity should always come first. We know that France is being driven out from this. Wherever there is military coup, they'll drive out France. France was driven out from Niger after military coup. From Mali, Burkina Faso, they drove out France. If the coup in Benin Republic have succeeded, likely to have also followed the same thing. So France is losing ground in Africa as a result of military coup. France is looking for more partners, and it seemed to have found someone in President Tinubu. But the president should be more transparent and tell us what exactly is going on here, such that the sovereignty of Nigeria is not compromised and the information data of Nigerians will not be compromised.